Hello, UCAR. Peter Christensen here, coming to you from the CEO's desk. We are going to finish our deep dive into the Code of Ethics today. We're going to end with Article 16. So here's the scenario. An agent meets a buyer at their kid's baseball game. They get talking. Turns out the buyer says, "Yeah, I'm looking for homes. You're an agent, right?" And so they strike up a conversation throughout the game. And eventually the buyer asks the agent, "Hey, would you be willing to help me? Would you show me some homes? I'm kind of hit a stumbling point in my search." And the agent says, "Sure, absolutely." Asks the magic question, "Well, are you working with another agent right now?" And the buyer replies, "Well, I was working with someone, but it was pretty informal, and I'd rather work with you." So the agent says, "Well, as long as you're not currently working with another agent, then I can help you." They go on, sign a buyer-broker agreement, move on, find a house. Well, it turns out that buyer indeed had a buyer-broker agreement with a different brokerage, a different agent. Did the second agent do enough? That's the question. Were they in the wrong? Can they trust their client in saying, "Yeah, I'm not working with one currently. I was working with one"? Well, let's look at Standard Practice 16-9. It says that realtors, prior to entering into a representation agreement, have an affirmative obligation to make reasonable efforts to determine whether the prospect is subject to a similar agreement. So there are two operative words there, and I harp on this in my classes. This is a scenario we go over at the end of almost every ethics class I teach. Two operative words: affirmative obligation and reasonable efforts. So whose obligation is it? It's the agent's obligation, right? An affirmative obligation to determine. What do they have to do to determine that? Take reasonable efforts. Well, I'd say 9 times out of 10, asking, "Are you working with someone?" and that client saying no is a reasonable effort. However, if you have any additional evidence that makes you question that answer, the obligation is on the agent. So in this scenario, I would argue that agent needed to do a little more. Ask a few more questions at minimum. How long ago were you working with this agent? Did you sign anything? Explain to me your relationship with this other agent. Eventually, probably smart to get the agent's name and give the agent a call and ask, "Are you currently working? Do you have a buyer-broker agreement with this client? They've approached me and I just wanted to double check." That's a little uncomfortable, but it's less uncomfortable than an ethics hearing, which is where you might end up if it turns out they have an agreement with another agent. So just remember, the obligation is yours as an agent, and you have to make reasonable efforts. Like I say, reasonable effort may simply be asking and getting an answer, but if there's evidence that doesn't line up with their answer, the obligation is on you to ask a few more questions. Remember, this is legal information only, not legal advice. If you need legal advice, please contact your attorney. Thanks for tuning in.